Hello and welcome to SaltWire today for Thursday, January 19th. I'm your host, Kate Walker. Significant snowfall is on the way for parts of the province tomorrow. Some areas could see up to 20 centimeters of snow, one of the first substantial snowfalls we've had this very mild winter. Our weather specialist, Alistair Alders, has more on what's to come.
Thanks, Kate. Well, January 19th, and we're finally talking about some substantial snowfall for parts of western Nova Scotia. Snow in the forecast on Friday, thanks to a low-pressure system that will slide off of Cape Cod into the south of Nova Scotia tomorrow. This is forecast to be mainly a snow event for the province. However, some snow could mix over to some rain along the south shore of Nova Scotia, so something to keep in mind there, and some light mixing possible directly along the Atlantic coast. But for the most part, this will be a snow event. The snow arrives in the southwest corner of the province early tomorrow morning, spreads eastward throughout the morning into the early afternoon for Cape Breton, and then tapers off to flurries as we head into Saturday morning. So the main threats will be accumulating snowfall and gusty winds for us. Certainly, I think reduced visibility likely across the province, as we'll have winds gusting up to 70 kilometers per hour. And as well, poor driving conditions are likely, especially for the commute home tomorrow, especially in Halifax. So if tomorrow's a day that maybe you can consider working from home to avoid having to commute in this weather, maybe plan on doing that. But I will break down the full timeline of when the snow will begin, when it will end, and just how much we can expect where, just in a bit on SaltWire today. Kate.
And as Alistair mentioned, he'll be back in the weather section with the full timeline on when and where the snow will hit. The Premier was questioned today about the new actions to improve emergency care plan. A long list of how to ease pressures on the ERs, speed up ambulance times, and more was part of the announcement yesterday. It was led by Nova Scotia CEO Karen Oldfield and Health and Wellness Minister Michelle Thompson, who highlighted again today that they will be adding care providers and patient advocates to support patients in waiting rooms.
The patient advocate role actually is in fact for comfort. So we talked about things, looking at getting warm blankets, making sure that there's good communication in the waiting room about what's happening in terms of wait times. Perhaps at some point they'll have iPads and be able to sign people up as an example for virtual care if that's maybe some support that they need.
Houston was also questioned post-cabinet about his thoughts on the plan.
We've certainly heard from lots of emergency room doctors across the province, had positive feedback, I think, from doctors in Nova Scotia. People know that there's a number of steps to be taken here. So great respect for the physicians that sent the letter, and I've asked the team to go and speak with them.
Houston says the steps yesterday were positive and that they will continue to listen and act on issues in the healthcare system. Coming up later in the newscast, Sheldon McLeod hears from Doctors Nova Scotia about having physicians doing triage in emergency departments. No booze is good news. That's the conclusion from the final report of the Canadian Centre on Substance Use and Addiction. Given that most Canadians are unaware of the risks associated with drinking alcohol, including 7 different types of cancer, the report calls for mandatory warning labels on alcohol bottles and containers that not only warns about the serious health risks, but also states the benefits of limiting consumption to 2 drinks a week.
The older guidelines, it was 15 drinks a week for men and 10 for women. And now the new guidelines are much lower. The lowest threshold is not drinking at all, or is obviously the safest form of behavior. But in terms of drinking, it's two drinks a week, and then now another threshold of 6 drinks for moderate, and then 7+ for increasingly harmful for drinking.
The numbers were updated after work done by 24 experts over 2 years, vetting 6,000 peer-reviewed studies. The study also makes it clear that there are no health benefits associated with drinking, despite the persistent belief that wine, for example, has some heart health benefits. Nova Scotia is reporting 5 new deaths related to COVID-19. In the COVID dashboard update today, there were 599 new PCR positive tests and 45 new hospital admissions for the 7-day period ending January 16th. While there were no new deaths for this reporting period, there were 5 new deaths from previous periods. As of January 17th, there were 44 people in hospital and 11 in the ICU. It's time now for a glimpse of today's Thinking Out Loud with Sheldon McLeod. Today, Sheldon is speaking with Dr. Leisha Hawker with Doctors Nova Scotia.
When the premier says, the minister says, we're going to have a doctor at helping with triage at emergency departments in Nova Scotia, you mentioned the human resource issue. How easy or how challenging will that be to make happen?
Well, it could be challenging, at least initially, because to put a physician in the triage area, you're taking that physician from somewhere else. We can't just poof magically have a new physician appear. But if we bring in physician extenders, like we utilize physician assistants in ways that we've never done in Nova Scotia, or nurse practitioners as well, to see the folks that are the lower acuity triage levels, that would take more the burden off emergency department physicians to see patients. That's really more primary care work. But in my mind, that's still a short-term solution. The long-term solution is to have a family doctor for every Nova Scotian, where they have regular access to their physicians when they need urgent care. So same day, next day appointments regularly. I know a lot of people even who have a family doctor now still can't see their family doctor for about a month. So if you have something that's urgent, like shingles or a bladder infection, or your kid has strep throat, that doesn't really help you and you wind up in the emergency department.
And for Sheldon's full conversation, head to the opinion section of SaltWire.com. Time now for the Atlantic Sports Wire, presented by Scott Squires.
Here's part 2 of my conversation with Newfoundland and Labrador soccer standout Holly O'Neill, who just signed a pro contract to play in Iceland. As we speak today, you're in London, Ontario. What's your Ontario experience been like playing up there?
So I joined Electric City this past season, and this was my first time playing in a semi-pro league. So I was really nervous of the jump because I wasn't super familiar with the league, and I was training and playing with this new team, brand new club, all new players. So it was a bit of an adjustment. So again, I just kind of had to keep pushing myself, striving to be better. And I found I felt a good bit of growth here as well, because again, I had to step it up that extra level.
You signed the contract. You're a pro player. What was the reaction of your family, friends, teammates, just your circle?
My circle was very excited for me because they knew it was kind of like a long-term dream. My dad was probably the most excited because really he wanted to see me succeed in my interests, as all parents do. And I think my mom only fully processed it after I signed, and now she's just trying to figure out when she could go to Iceland.
An Icelandic adventure awaits Holly O'Neill. In Halifax, I'm Scott Squires for the Atlantic Sports Wire.
Yeah! Let's go!
Thank you, Scott. On to weather now to see what's coming up in the forecast. We're going to check back in now with our weather specialist, Alistair Alders.
Hi again, Kate. Well, we're bracing for a snowy Friday across Nova Scotia. What's going to be the first snowfall of the season? Hard to believe for much of western Nova Scotia. Let's break it all down, starting with your weather timeline showing precipitation, cloud cover, and temperature. Now, this will be mostly a snow event, but keep an eye if you're at a coastal location for the potential of mixing on this timeline. And you can see as we start tonight, it's just relatively cloudy, but as we go through the overnight hours into very early Friday morning, that snow starts to arrive in southwestern Nova Scotia, so the commute in Yarmouth will be impacted tomorrow morning. The snow moves eastward, reaching the Halifax area likely by the mid-morning. I don't think the morning commute in Halifax will be affected significantly. The snow could begin at the tail end of it. It'll be the drive home that's going to be the problem in Halifax and really much of the province tomorrow. As you can see, that snow moves eastward throughout the morning, reaching Cape Breton into the early afternoon, and that snow continues throughout the afternoon into Friday evening across the entire province, and we'll want to watch out for poor driving conditions as well as reduced visibility due to blowing snow. Now that snow will start to ease off to some lighter snow and then flurries as we go Friday night into early Saturday morning, and flurries will linger across the province throughout the day on Saturday, but overall conditions will start to improve. It will be windy throughout the day though, and you'll see that on your wind timeline here in just a moment. But let's take a look right now at the snowfall forecast, and the significant snowfall is forecast over much of southwestern Nova Scotia, where 15 to 20 and maybe pockets up to 25 centimeters or more are likely. This includes areas such as Yarmouth over towards Liverpool and Lunenburg. Now, directly along the South Shore coast, Cape Sable Island, Bacquerel Point, Lockport, where there will be some mixing with rain, I expect. Amounts likely to be more so in the range of about 10 to 15 centimeters. In Halifax, about 15 centimeters likely, but up to 20 or more certainly possible depending on the track. And then over eastern Nova Scotia, roughly 10 to as much as 15 centimeters, a little less in western Cape Breton. Now, keep in mind, this is very much track dependent. Any change in the track will affect snowfall amounts. So we'll need to keep a very close eye on that as the system approaches. In terms of the wind forecast, winds will be out of the northeast over to the north. You can see in the morning they will start to pick up, gusting generally 20 to 40, but throughout the afternoon and Friday night, winds will gust 40 up to 70 kilometers per hour, strongest directly along the Atlantic coast of Nova Scotia. And even as the system finally tapers off throughout the day on Saturday, winds out of the north will remain strong. So it's going to be a chilly day on Saturday, and we could see some additional blowing snow locally throughout the day on Saturday, even though the snow will have tapered off by then. But certainly, you know, we haven't had a significant snow in areas such as Halifax and the southwest, so this could catch some of us off guard. So if you have to be traveling, just be sure to use extra caution, maybe consider staying home if you can. And really, if you're a fan of the snow, it's not likely to stick around. There could be a storm that comes in early next week that will bring us some rain, so take advantage of the snowfall this weekend if you are a fan of it. Kate.
Thank you, Alistair. That's all for now. For more extended video and full online articles, stay tuned to saltwire.com. And you can find us on Instagram and Twitter at SaltWire Today. I'm your host, Kate Walker. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you back here tomorrow.